We're gathered here today with a shared goal to protect women in women's sports. For more than 50 years, Title IX has stood as a landmark civil rights achievement, ensuring women are not left behind in educational and athletic opportunities. Title IX was never about special treatment, it was about equal footing. And when it comes to athletics, that means a level playing field. Title IX opened the doors for generations of women to compete, to excel, and to break barriers. Not by competing with men, but competing on teams designated for them against their peers. Today, that legacy is facing serious challenges. And for those who have not read, there's a report from the United Nations titled Violence Against Women and Girls in Sports that documents that over 890 medals have been stolen by men in 26 different women's sports. And this report was as of over a year ago. So those numbers are much higher. This isn't just about fairness, it's also about safety. In contact sports particularly. The physical disparities between biological males and females can lead to serious injury and risks. No young woman should have to choose between her athletic goals and her physical safety. To give a basic comparison, this safety concern is exactly why we already have age differences in our sports and youth sports and schools. If we recognize the need to separate youth sports by age for safety reasons, why are we refusing to accept the same basic biological realities when it comes to protecting the safety of girls in girls' sports? It's common sense. This is why I have filed Bill number 4027, the Riley-Gaines Act, to require public schools and colleges that have interscholastic or intercollegiate athletics to provide equal athletic opportunity for members of both sexes. The bill lays out clear requirements that schools designate sports teams as either male, female, or co-ed, and prohibits biological males from competing for or against teams designated for females. As policymakers, we have a responsibility to uphold the principles of fairness and safety for all. And in doing so, we must protect the very purpose of Title IX, not weaken it. And now I would like to introduce two brave young women, Abigail Wheeler and Caitlin Wheeler. And just for those who know, this is mom and grandma in the front row here. So we have three generations of Wheeler women here today with us. So next, Caitlin.
Thank you so much, Representative Weber, and thank you, Representative Deering, for being here and advocating for women in women's sports, introducing these bills. I want to thank you all. My name is Caitlin Wheeler. I was a competitive swimmer for 18 years, and I graduated from the University of Kentucky, where I was teammates with Riley-Gaines. I graduated as an NCAA qualifier, a multiple-time All-American, and an SEC champion. And I've now dedicated my life to defending the rights of women and girls in sports and spaces with the Riley-Gaines Center, protecting fairness, safety, and dignity for women. It's not a Republican or Democrat issue, it's common sense. And the fact that we even need legislation like HB 4027 and HB 1117 should be a national wake-up call. I've trained beside male athletes for most of my career. I know the biological differences, how much stronger, faster, and more powerful they are, and how big that biological gap is. Not to say that women are unequal or not the same, or unequal, we are just not the same. I know how hard women have to work. For every 100th of a second shaved off in the sport of swimming, races come down to the 100th of a second. In soccer, a burst of speed that changes the outcome of a game. In track, a single stride. Or in basketball, it's one rebound or one block. Women train their entire lives to close those margins. That's why Title IX was passed, so that girls like myself could compete on a level playing field. But when males step into those spaces, onto those, into the pool or onto the courts, those efforts, those years of hard work are erased in an instant. That's not bigotry, it's biology and it's common sense. Yet today, the playing field we're seeing is being erased, and we're told that it's no big deal, or it's not really happening that much, or there aren't men competing in women's sports. Just be quiet. But let me be very clear. Laws should never be used to erase reality. A male's self-identification does not and should not outweigh a girl's right to fairness, safety, and privacy in her locker room. This isn't hypothetical. It's happening and it's real. And if you still believe the lie that it's rare, you've been fooled. Remember this: one girl robbed of her place on the podium or violated in a locker room is already one too many. We don't need to agree politically to agree morally. But I would like everyone to ask themselves, would I let my daughter undress in a locker room with a man? Would I make her race against a male for a scholarship? Is that fair to her? Would I force her to move because she feels unsafe in her own locker room? This isn't hate, again. It isn't bigotry. It's basic fairness, and it's about what's right and what's wrong. So I'm here today asking Illinois legislators and leaders everywhere, really, to stand up, not just for the girls here today, but for every girl in the state of Illinois and across the country who's maybe not found her voice yet. We're counting on you to make the right decision, and we're done being silent. We will not back down, and please do the right thing, the moral thing, protect women and girls. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you to everyone for being here today to support the HB 4027 bill. Thank you to the members of the General Assembly who are fighting to protect women and girls across Illinois. Most like to say it's not happening, and that if it's happening, it's not happening that often. This bill is just important. It's not urgent. I'm sorry. This bill isn't just important, it's urgent. It's about restoring fairness, safety, and truth back into women's sports and private spaces. It's about making sure that men cannot take away the opportunities, records, scholarships, and spaces that were fought for by generations of women. When I was 16 years old, at our local YMCA, where fully grown men were allowed to undress in front of us. Yes, men were allowed to undress in the locker room in front of my underage teammates and I. When I asked for help from my coach and the administration, the response I got was, if you're uncomfortable, you can change somewhere else. We are following the law. That is not protection, that is abandonment. And this is exactly why we need this bill. Because the law is being misinterpreted and twisted to incorporate insanity. Girls are being sacrificed at the altar of political correctness. If the law tells young girls to move for grown men, then the law is broken, and that is our job to fix it. Now, the High School Association has made it clear in writing that they will not comply with the president's executive order protecting women's sports and spaces, banning men from them. Instead, they're hiding behind legal confusion and refusing to take a stand for girls like me and my girls from my teammate, and girls across Illinois. I am so grateful to Representative Tom Weber and Reagan Deering and the leaders who are speaking out and demanding action. But we shouldn't have to beg for common sense. We shouldn't have to ask for permission to be safe. It's time to stop bullying young women into silence. It's time to defend women's spaces and rights, women's teams, and women's spaces. It's time to pass HB 4027. Thank you.
Thank you to Abigail and Caitlin for being here this morning. I'm Regan Deering, State Representative of the 88th District, which includes parts of Macon, McLean, Piatt, DeWitt, and Livingston counties in central Illinois. As a mom of 2 daughters, I believe every girl deserves the opportunity to compete on a level playing field. My husband and I want our daughters and every woman to feel safe, respected, and protected. And I want them to gain the confidence, camaraderie, and strength that so many girls develop through sports. This is why I introduced House Bill 1117, a measure that would require school sports teams to be designated as male, female, or co-ed, with students only being able to participate on teams that match their biological sex. Unfortunately, the Democratic supermajority wouldn't even allow the bill to be heard in committee, jeopardizing the safety of young women and girls in sports. Last month, House Republicans sent a letter to IHSA asking about their intent to comply with federal policy that clearly prohibits permitting biological men to compete against biological women in sports. The IHSA delayed their response, and when they finally returned a letter to our caucus, they chose to deflect instead of providing information for an actual plan. The IHSA has refused to provide clarity, but it does not absolve them of their responsibility. By siding with radical gender ideology over the concerns of parents, coaches, and athletes, the IHSA is dismissing the severity of the situation and silencing the voices of girls who have trained their whole lives for a fair shot. Fairness in girls' sports is not up for negotiation. Privacy and safety are not political issues. I refuse to stay silent while unelected bureaucrats and politically pressured institutions make decisions that compromise